Minutes before our vows, my fiancée texted, "I don't want this anymore. I'm ending it." Instead of folding, I turned the whole wedding into a bachelor party. 3 days later, she ended up broke, humiliated, and begging for another chance.
Hey, Reddit.
So, I was supposed to get married a while back. Big wedding, months of planning, tons of money poured in. Everyone flew in, dressed up, ready for the big day. 5 minutes before I'm supposed to walk out there in a tux, my phone buzzes with a text that flipped everything upside down. What happened next? Well, let's just say nobody at that wedding is ever going to forget it. So, yeah, I, 29 male, was supposed to be married by now. Tux pressed, hair done, nerves through the roof, but still holding it together. You know that mix of being terrified and excited at the same time? That was me standing in this tiny side room at the venue, waiting for the signal to walk out. Months of planning, thousands of dollars blown, people flying in from 3 states away just to watch me say I do. The whole setup felt like one of those high-budget productions where if one thing goes wrong, everything collapses.
And it did.
5 minutes before I was supposed to walk out, my phone buzzed. I thought it was Cassie, my fiancée, sending some sweet pre-wedding pep talk, something like, "I can't wait to see you." Or one of those cheesy heart emojis she overused. Instead, the screen showed a message I'll probably never forget.
Keith, I don't want this anymore.
I'm ending it. That was it. Cold, robotic, like she was a medieval queen tossing me into a dungeon. No explanation, no context, just I'm ending it. I stared at the screen, waiting for the punchline. Maybe she'd follow up with, "LOL, wrong text," or some kind of explanation. Nothing, just silence. For a second, the world tilted. My chest tightened, stomach sank, and I swear I could hear the faint hum of my life going down the drain. But then something weird happened. Instead of panicking, crying, or running out the back door, my brain went cold, smooth like ice. Cole, my best man, peeked in.
Dude, it's time. You ready?
I turned the phone around and showed him. He read it, blinked twice, and whispered, "No freaking way."
Way. Here's the thing.
In that moment, I had 2 choices. Hide, collapse, let the chaos consume me. Walk out there, own it, and make sure everyone knew exactly what went down.
Option 2 felt way better.
I found the officiant, this old guy who looked like he'd rather be fishing than marrying anyone. He gave me this confused look like, "Where's the bride?" I smiled and said, "Slight change of plans." Then I walked out alone. The room went dead quiet when people saw me standing up there solo. My mom's face turned white like she was about to pass out. Cassie's family looked confused, whispering to each other. I grabbed the mic, cleared my throat, and said, "Hey everyone.
So, there's been a development.
About 5 minutes ago, Cassie sent me a text. It says, and I quote, 'Keith, I don't want this anymore. I'm ending it.'" Gasps. Actual gasps. Someone on her side even screamed, "Oh my God." I let the silence hang for a second. My chest was tight, but my voice stayed steady. Then I added, "So yeah, there's not going to be a wedding today. Cassie has made her choice." You could feel the room spinning. People looking at each other, mouths hanging open. Perfect moment to deliver the closer. But I said, raising a glass, "Everything here is paid for. The food's ready, the band's waiting, and the bar's stocked. So tonight isn't a wedding reception anymore. It's a celebration. A celebration of honesty, even if it's brutal, and a celebration of dodging a very expensive bullet. So, please eat, drink, and have a good time."
To honesty.
For 5 long seconds, the room stayed frozen. Then, Cole started clapping. My family joined in. Then, some of the guests, and before long, there was actual cheering. Cassie's parents and sister, they stormed out like I just slapped their bloodline. Some of their relatives followed. Maybe a third of the crowd bailed.
Fine by me.
The rest stuck around, and suddenly we had ourselves the weirdest party in history. People didn't know how to act at first. Some danced, some sat in silence like they were at a funeral, and others just hovered near the open bar like they'd never leave. My friends, they turned it into a comedy show. Cole toasted me with, "To Keith, officially the luckiest unlucky guy alive." Another buddy yelled across the room, "Bro, this is the best bachelor party you never planned." It was absurd, but honestly, it worked. Every joke, every clap on the back, every "she did you a favor, man," kept me from spiraling. Meanwhile, I stayed steady. No begging, no anger. Because if I cracked, if I let myself look pathetic, then Cassie won. And I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. I did the rounds, shaking hands, hugging family, telling people to enjoy themselves. Every now and then someone asked, "Do you want us to call her, find her?" I just shrugged. Nah. She made her decision. Let's party. By the time the band started playing, the vibe shifted from awkward to surreal. For a night that was supposed to destroy me, it turned into something insane, like my own freedom festival. And yeah, inside the hurt was real. That text hit like a brick. But on the outside, I was untouchable. Cassie thought she was ruining me. Instead, I flipped it into the most memorable non-wedding anyone in that room will ever attend. And honestly, that was just the beginning. By the time I dragged myself home that night, the apartment felt like a museum. My tux was half undone, shoes still on, and I just sat there staring at the wall. My phone kept lighting up with texts, some funny, some supportive, all of them surreal. People calling it legendary and the most insane wedding story ever. I wasn't feeling legendary. I was just exhausted and trying not to think about the fact that my life had just taken a nosedive in front of 150 witnesses. The real punch came the next morning. No more adrenaline, no cheering crowd, no coal-cracking jokes in the background. Just me, a stiff back from sleeping on the couch and a pile of financial reality waiting to be faced. See, weddings don't run on promises. They run on deposits. And guess what? Every single deposit had been paid weeks ago. Venue paid in full 2 weeks before the date. Caterer, same deal. Flowers, band, rentals, money gone, gone, and gone. The tux I was still wearing, bought outright. My parents had chipped in a big chunk, and seeing their faces at the reception was still fresh in my head. They didn't blame me, but I could tell it hurt them almost as much as it hurt me. I pulled up my banking app, scrolling through transactions. Tens of thousands already out. The only thing left hanging was the honeymoon package. That one stood out. Close to $18,000 non-refundable, but I remembered the travel agent mentioning something about being able to change the second guest's name if plans shifted. At the time, I thought it was irrelevant. Now, it looked like the only thread left to hold on to. The more I looked through the account, the more I noticed something off. Transfers. Small ones at first, then what looked big for her pattern. $3,000 moved from the wedding fund to Cassie's personal account just 2 days before the wedding. My stomach twisted. She hadn't just bailed. She'd been prepping her exit, setting up her little just-in-case safety net while I was working overtime to make sure our wedding didn't bankrupt us. That was the moment I stopped second-guessing myself. This wasn't about stress or nerves. She hadn't panicked. She'd planned. I locked the account that night, froze it so she couldn't touch another cent. Screenshotted everything, dates, times, amounts. If she tried to come back later with some sob story, I'd have more than just her infamous "I'm ending it" text. I'd have proof she was cashing out before she cashed me out. Cole came over later with pizza. I showed him the screenshots. He stared at them, then shook his head. "Dude, she didn't reject you. She robbed you." I laughed, but not because it was funny. It was just too ridiculous not to. Like I was living inside one of those internet stories you read and think, nah, that's too wild to be real. Except it was very real and my checking account was proof. Meanwhile, the town was buzzing. That's the curse of living somewhere where everybody knows everybody. Guests had already posted vague updates. Stuff like craziest wedding ever or dodged a bullet big time. By Sunday I had coworkers texting me, "Hey, are you okay? Just saw something about your wedding, Cassie." Nothing. Not a single call, not a single message. She dropped her bomb and vanished, which almost made it worse. At least if she texted again, I could have told her to shove it. Instead, she just disappeared into the ether, leaving me to sweep up the ashes. My parents came over that afternoon with casseroles and their best, "We're not mad, just sad" expressions. My dad kept saying, "She's the one who lost." Like a broken record. My mom asked if maybe Cassie had just gotten overwhelmed and might come back. I didn't tell them about the money transfers. Not yet. Dropping that truth bomb could wait. My brain wouldn't shut off. I kept replaying it all like a bad highlight reel. The tux, the text, her family storming out, my dad crushing me in a hug. Every detail burned into memory. And layered on top of that, the numbers, the lost money, the transfers, the European package just sitting there, taunting me. Cole tried to lighten the mood again later that week. He said, "At least you're famous now, man. People are going to be telling this story for years." I smirked. Yeah, but it's my wallet that paid the admission fee. And as much as I wanted to believe it was over, I knew deep down it wasn't. People like Cassie don't just vanish. They don't reject you, drain the account, and ride off into the sunset quietly. Numbered, they always circle back. And I had a bad feeling she was going to come crashing back into my life sooner than I'd like. Turns out, I didn't have to wait long. By midweek, I started hearing whispers. Not from Cassie directly, she was still radio silent, but from mutual acquaintances who had apparently seen her in places she had no business being. One of my old classmates messaged me. "Dude, did Cassie leave with some guy? Saw her at the gas station 2 towns over with this older dude.
Fancy car. Looked sketchy as hell. At first, I brushed it off.
Maybe it was someone who looked like her. But then another message came in. This time from a friend of a friend who worked at a hotel off the highway.
Same story.
Cassie checked in with an older guy, paid in cash, didn't look happy. That's when it started clicking. She hadn't just rejected me in a panic. She had a ride waiting. And that ride had a name, Paul. The first time I heard it was from Cole. He came over one night scrolling on his phone and said, "Yo, did you know she was talking to a guy named Paul? Some flashy clown with a leased BMW."
I blinked. You're joking.
He turned the screen to me. Mutual friends on Facebook had been posting vague stuff, but one of them wasn't so vague. A picture, Cassie standing next to a tall guy with slick back hair and a cheap gold watch that looked like it came out of a mall kiosk. Caption, "Some people never change." That's when the floodgates opened. Stories started rolling in. Paul wasn't just some random rebound.
He was the plan.
Cassie had been seeing him for months behind my back. He'd promised her a better life, fancy cars, trips, a future where she didn't have to lift a finger. All she had to do was ditch me at the altar and run into his arms. Except Paul wasn't who she thought he was. The guy had a record, fraud, unpaid debts, even a warrant in another state for some shady business scheme. He was the kind of dude who lived off appearances, always dressed sharp, always driving something shiny, but never owned a damn thing. Everything was borrowed, leased, or straight up stolen. One of my coworkers' cousins, small world, right, actually knew him. "Oh yeah," he said when I asked.
"Paul's a joke.
He talks big, but he's broke as hell. Guy owes half the county money. If she ran off with him, she picked the Titanic. And apparently that ship sank fast. From what I pieced together, Cassie left the bridal suite with her bag already packed. Paul was waiting in the parking lot. They drove off like it was some movie scene, except instead of the sunset in Champagne, she got a rundown motel and a stack of unpaid bills. Paul maxed out her credit cards within days, bought himself toys, new phone, watches, probably blew cash on poker tables, too. Then, when she started panicking, he dumped her at a gas station 3 states away. She eventually made her way to a Greyhound station trying to get a ride back home. That detail came from another mutual who was horrified on my behalf. She called me and said, "I just saw Cassie crying at a Greyhound station." She said Paul left her with no money and no ride. I didn't even know how to respond. Part of me wanted to laugh. Part of me wanted to scream. The woman who had promised to spend her life with me, who texted, "I'm ending it" minutes before our vows, was now stranded with maxed out cards and no backup plan. I sat back, letting the irony wash over me. Cassie thought she was trading up, ditching me for some fantasy life with a guy who looked like he belonged in a car commercial.
Instead, she got conned by a con man.
Cole couldn't stop laughing when I told him, "Brother, she ditched you for a dude with a Groupon scam record?"
That's comedy gold.
Another buddy added, "She downgraded so hard she went from groom to grifter." The more I heard, the more obvious it became. Cassie wasn't a victim of cold feet. She was a victim of her own stupidity. She thought she was smarter than everyone else, that she could play both sides, secure me as the safe option while testing out Paul's flashy promises. Only she bet on the wrong horse. And here's the part that really stuck with me. All those transfers I'd found in the wedding account, the money she quietly siphoned off. Yeah, that didn't go into some secret savings for her. Paul had talked her into bringing cash to start their new life, which basically meant she funded his getaway weekend before he dumped her. I almost felt bad for her, almost. But then I remembered that text. "I'm ending it cold." Final, like I was some side character she could cut out of her story. Nope. No sympathy left. By the end of that week, I had the full picture. Cassie ditched me for Paul. Paul cleaned her out and she ended up stranded and broke. She hadn't circled back yet, but I knew it was coming. People like her don't take responsibility.
They look for a soft landing.
And in her mind, I was still the softest landing she could imagine. But I wasn't about to play safety net. Not after what she pulled. So I waited, ate my takeout, went to work, hit the gym, let my friends crack jokes at her expense. I acted normal. But inside, I was preparing because I knew the storm was on its way. And when she finally came crawling back, I was going to be ready. Sure enough, 72 hours of silence later, my phone blew up like it owed someone money. Missed calls, voicemails, texts stacked on top of each other. The same number that once spammed me with hearts and wedding Pinterest boards was now flooding me with desperate pleas.
Keith, I made a mistake. Please answer. It wasn't what it looked like. Can we just talk?
I love you. Don't throw this away.
Throw this away?
She texted, I'm ending it. Minutes before walking down the aisle. She torched the house and then cried about the smoke. At first, I ignored it. Silence is its own answer, but curiosity got the better of me for one call. I wanted to hear how she was going to spin this mess.
So, I picked up.
The second I said hello, she gasped like she'd just been rescued from a desert island.
Oh, thank God. Keith, please listen.
I wasn't thinking. It was the pressure, the stress. I had a panic attack. Paul meant nothing.
I cut her off. Funny.
Panic attacks don't usually come with packed bags and a getaway driver. Silence, then a shaky, I didn't know what I was doing.
It was a mistake.
We can reschedule. Tell people it was just cold feet. Nobody has to know.
I laughed. Couldn't help it.
Reschedule like this was a dentist appointment you flaked on. Cassie, you sent me a text that said, and I quote, I'm ending it. You nuked the wedding from orbit. There's no undo button for that. She started crying full-on hysterics through the phone.
Don't say that.
We can fix this. I love you.
I do. No, I said calm as ever.
You loved the life you thought I'd give you. Paul pulled up with a shiny car and you couldn't pack fast enough. Now he dumped you and suddenly I look good again.
That's not love.
That's desperation. She tried the pity card next. Where will I go? What am I supposed to do? I have nothing. I shook my head even though she couldn't see me. That sounds like a huge problem, Cassie. Just not mine anymore.
I hung up, blocked her number.
That should have been the end of it. But Cassie's family apparently decided it was tag team season. Her sister Danielle called me a few hours later, voice dripping with outrage. How dare you humiliate her like that, announcing her text in front of everyone, turning it into some kind of joke party.
She made a mistake, Keith. You should have protected her. Protected her.
That word almost made me choke.
Danielle, I said slowly.
Your sister texted me 5 minutes before the wedding to say she was ending it. She had her bags packed and a guy waiting outside.
I didn't humiliate her.
I just read her exact words.
She was stressed. Danielle shot back.
A real man would have forgiven her, taken her back, helped her through this. I actually laughed. Forgive her for planning to ditch me at the altar for another guy. Protect her from the consequences of her own actions.
Do you hear yourself? She lit the match.
And you're mad at me for not calling the fire department fast enough. You're as delusional as her. Danielle huffed like she was on some moral high ground.
She needs help.
You owe her that much. She has nowhere to live, Keith. Not my responsibility, I said flatly. She moved into my place a month ago. I've already boxed her stuff and had it shipped back to your parents' house. She's officially not my problem anymore. So goodbye, Danielle.
Click, blocked.
My friends loved it when I told them. The thing is, I wasn't even trying to be clever. It just came out that way. I'd spent 3 days thinking about everything she'd done. Siphoning money, sneaking around with Paul, blindsiding me with that text. By the time she called, my words weren't rehearsed. They were just the truth, and the truth cut sharper than anything I could have scripted. Still, Cassie didn't give up easily. She tried new numbers, emails, even a handwritten letter shoved under my apartment door. The theme was always the same. Panic, mistake, we can fix this. I love you. Sometimes it shifted into blame. You embarrassed me. You turned people against me. Like I'd forced her to text me, I'm ending it. And jump into another man's car. Each time I blocked, deleted, or tossed it in the trash. No engagement, no fuel for the fire. Because at that point, she wasn't looking for love or forgiveness. She was looking for a lifeboat. And I wasn't about to throw her one after she tried to sink me. My dad asked me once if I'd even considered hearing her out, just to get closure. I told him closure wasn't something you negotiate with someone who tried to screw you over. Closure is realizing they can't touch you anymore. And the best part, every roast, every block, every calm refusal made it crystal clear to everyone watching that I wasn't going to fold. Not for Cassie, not for her family, not for anyone. Cassie thought she'd play me. She thought she'd reject me like some rejected job applicant, and I'd still be waiting in the lobby for her to change her mind. Instead, She found out the hard way that once the door slammed, it stayed shut. And for the first time since that infamous text, I actually felt good, solid, like the storm was starting to clear. Of course, I had no idea she was about to crank the drama up even higher. After I shut her and Danielle down, I figured things would fizzle out. She'd either sulk at her parents' house or try her luck begging Paul to take her back. Either way, not my circus anymore. But apparently, Cassie and her sister couldn't stomach the idea of me walking away looking calm and collected. No, in their world, if they were sinking, I had to drown with them. It started with whispers. A co-worker pulled me aside at the office one morning, face all serious. "Hey man, just so you know, I heard Cassie's telling people you were controlling, that you pressured her into the wedding, and she had no choice but to run."
I just blinked at him. Controlling?
She was the one booking venues like she was buying lottery tickets.
I just showed up when told. The rumor mill picked up fast.
Suddenly, I was hearing from friends of friends that I was the one who called off the wedding, that Cassie's text had been taken out of context. One version even had me staging the whole thing for sympathy, like some bizarre reverse publicity stunt. The funniest part, the people buying it were the ones who weren't even there. Distant relatives, acquaintances who hadn't spoken to me in years, they ate it up. The folks who sat in the room, who heard me read her exact words into a microphone, they weren't fooled, but still, it was annoying. Cole summed it up perfectly one night over takeout. "She's rewriting history, bro. Problem is, you've got the director's cut saved on your phone."
And he was right.
I didn't even bother arguing publicly. Whenever someone asked me directly, I just pulled out my phone and showed them the infamous text. "I'm ending it." Time-stamped 5 minutes before the ceremony.
End of debate.
Watching their faces go from skeptical to shocked was satisfying every single time. But Cassie and Danielle weren't done. The smear campaign wasn't enough. They wanted compensation. First came an email from Cassie. She listed out emotional labor she'd put into planning the wedding. Demanded I reimburse her for time and effort. She even had the nerve to ask for half the cash value of the gifts we'd received, most of which I had already returned or donated. I deleted it. Thought that was the end. Then Danielle texted from a new number. "Keith, since you humiliated Cassie, the least you can do is cover her therapy bills." I nearly dropped my phone laughing. Therapy bills for the trauma she caused me. The entitlement was so rich it deserved its own Netflix special. The cherry on top came in the form of a letter from Cassie's mom. Handwritten, all flowery and dramatic. She claimed I'd ruined Cassie's reputation and that I owed her family compensation for damages. Damages for what? Her daughter texting me that I was rejected like I was a bad job interview. At that point, I decided to cover my bases. I scheduled a meeting with a lawyer, slid the stack of emails and letters across his desk, and asked, "Do I need to worry about this circus?" He read them, chuckled, and said, "Son, this is nonsense. She has zero legal standing. If anything, you could countersue for harassment if it keeps up." Then he drafted a formal email that basically said, Cassie unilaterally terminated the relationship.
No funds are owed.
Any further demands will be treated as harassment.
We sent it off.
Silence followed for a while, but I wasn't about to let them keep spinning their story. So I dropped the nuke in the family group chat, screenshotted Cassie's text, posted it without commentary. Just her words, timestamp and all.
"Keith, I don't want this anymore.
I'm ending it." The reaction was instant. Half the chat went dead silent. A couple relatives posted awkward emojis. One uncle replied with, "Well, guess that clears that up." Danielle immediately left the group. Cassie's mom typed a long paragraph defending her, but it just made her look worse. I didn't argue, didn't add commentary.
The screenshot was enough.
Facts speak louder than sob stories. After that, the smear campaign slowed to a crawl. Sure, there were still whispers, but now when people came to me, I had proof. And the best part, my friends backed me up every time. Cole told one guy straight to his face, "Yeah, you can believe her version. Or you can look at the text she sent 5 minutes before the wedding."
Pick one.
The demands dried up after the lawyer's email, too. Apparently, realizing they had no legal leverage finally clicked. But I wasn't celebrating yet. Because with Cassie, I knew silence didn't mean surrender. It meant she was regrouping, looking for the next angle.
And I was right.
Because while she was licking her wounds, I still had that European honeymoon package sitting on my desk. $18,000 worth of prepaid luxury waiting to be used. Cassie had drooled over that trip for months, obsessed over the brochures, even picked the hotels herself. And now I had full control over it. The idea started forming in my head late one night. What better way to twist the knife? Not by being cruel, not by attacking her, but by living well, by taking the trip she thought was hers and making it mine without her anywhere in sight. When I floated the idea to Cole, his eyes lit up. You're telling me we can eat our weight in pasta in Rome on her dime?
Dude, say less.
The more I thought about it, the more it felt right. Cassie had wanted to use me as her safety net. Paul had used her as an ATM. The least I could do was turn that wasted honeymoon into something legendary. And that's when the plan shifted from surviving the fallout to flipping it on its head. She tried to make me the victim, but I wasn't going to play that role.
Not now, not ever.
So, I swapped Cassie's name off the honeymoon package, asked Cole and a couple of our buddies if they wanted in, and they jumped at the chance. All they had to do was cover their flights and an extra room, and just like that, we were on a plane to Europe within a week.
The trip was stacked. Rome, Barcelona, Athens.
Every day was something new.
Every night, a fresh story. Rome hit first.
We did the Colosseum tour, and Cole made me pose like I was giving some victory speech to an invisible bride.
Smile for the camera, champ, he joked.
The picture turned into a running gag the whole trip. From there, we rented scooters and tore through the Amalfi Coast like maniacs. One of the guys almost wiped out into a fruit stand, and we couldn't stop laughing for hours. Barcelona was a different kind of energy. Packed stadium, the crowd roaring at a soccer match, beer flying everywhere. We screamed ourselves hoarse, then ended up eating tapas at some hole-in-the-wall place until 2 in the morning. Greece wrapped it all up. Ruins in the day, beaches in the afternoon, dinners on cliffsides where the view made you forget about everything else. But while I was out there living, Cassie was unraveling. Halfway through Spain, I started hearing from mutuals that she'd gone nuclear.
She's losing it, man.
One of them messaged me saying that was supposed to be your trip, your adventure, your time. She'd apparently been crying to anyone who would listen that I had stolen her dream.
Then things took a turn. Cassie didn't just whine.
She tried to act. She decided she was going to fly out to Europe and confront me like this was some rom-com reunion scene.
Problem? She was broke. Paul had drained her. Her cards were maxed.
And she was living at her parents' place with no cash.
So, what did she do?
She grabbed Danielle's credit card. From what I later heard, she didn't even ask, just tried to use it to book a last-minute flight. Danielle found out when the bank flagged it and called her directly. That's when the fireworks started. Danielle, the same sister who had called me ranting that I humiliated Cassie, finally snapped. Apparently, she tore into Cassie in the middle of their parents' house, screaming about how she was selfish, delusional, and dragging everyone down with her. Mutuals who were there said it was brutal. Danielle calling her a leech, telling her she deserved to be stranded and that she'd ruined her own life. The best part, someone texted Cole about it while we were sitting at a cafe in Athens. He read it out loud, barely able to get through it between laughing fits. Bro, Cassie tried to use Danielle's card to fly here.
Danielle flipped.
They're not even speaking now. I almost spit out my drink. She tried to crash our trip with stolen money. Cole wiped tears of laughter from his face. Dude, this is karma with express shipping. That night, Cassie herself proved the story true. She messaged me from yet another new number, a wall of text.
You left me no choice.
I was coming to fix this, to talk to you face to face, to remind you what we had.
But your cruelty forced my hand. Danielle betrayed me. She doesn't understand.
This was supposed to be our adventure, our time.
You stole it. You're heartless.
I stared at the message for a solid minute. Then I typed back one line. You didn't leave me, Cassie. You ended it.
Big difference.
And the only person betraying you is yourself.
Blocked her again.
I showed my friends and the whole table erupted. Cole clinked his glass against mine and said, to Keith, traveling the world while his ex burns every bridge behind her.
And he wasn't wrong.
Cassie had tried to jump on a plane to chase me across Europe, but all she managed to do was torch her only ally. The sister who once defended her now wanted nothing to do with her. Meanwhile, I was halfway across the world eating seafood under the Greek sun, laughing with my boys about how my almost wife had been reduced to scamming her own family for airfare. That was the difference. She thought she was going to be the one living the dream. But she was grounded, broke, and burning bridges while I was free. Soaking up every second of the life she thought she owned. She wanted an adventure. She got a disaster.
I wanted freedom. I got it.
And that trip wasn't about her anymore.
It was mine.
When I got back home, life felt different. Not because everything was magically fixed, but because I'd finally taken control of the wreckage. I'd gone on the trip she thought she owned, laughed harder than I had in years, and come back with proof that she didn't have power over me anymore. Meanwhile, Cassie's world kept shrinking. Word spread fast about the credit card stunt with Danielle. Everyone in her circle knew she tried to use her own sister's money to chase me across Europe. Danielle completely flipped on her. They weren't speaking anymore, and the people who used to take her side started distancing themselves. Apparently, nobody wanted to deal with a freeloading drama queen who couldn't even respect her own family's bank account. By the time I got back, Cassie had moved out of Danielle's place and back into her parents' house. Mutual friends told me she was working some low-level admin job that barely covered gas. Every conversation she had with people turned into whining about how unfair her life was, how I had stolen everything from her. The kicker, she still tried to spin the story like I was the bad guy. But the problem with running your mouth is that receipts exist. And I had plenty of those. That infamous text, "I'm ending it," had done more to bury her credibility than anything I could have said. Anytime someone gave me side-eye, I just pulled it up.
Conversation over.
Cassie, on the other hand, couldn't escape it. People laughed about it behind her back. Even some of her own relatives admitted she was the one who destroyed everything. She burned her safety net, lost her shot at the dream husband she thought I was supposed to be, and ended up right where she started. Broke, bitter, and living under her parents' roof.
As for Paul, gone.
No one's heard from him since he dumped her. Rumor was he ran another scam and skipped town. She bet everything on him and ended up empty-handed. While she was stuck complaining, I was leveling up. Work gave me a raise a couple months later. Partly because I threw myself into projects, and partly because I wasn't weighed down by wedding stress anymore. I hit the gym harder, started feeling better than I had in years. My friends were still around, cracking jokes and keeping me grounded. Life wasn't perfect, but it was moving in the right direction. I even dipped back into dating. Nothing serious, just casual dinners and conversations with women who actually respected me. The difference was obvious. I wasn't chasing anyone's approval anymore. The last message I ever got from Cassie came through email, a full essay about how I abandoned her, how I owed her closure, and how she would never forgive me for stealing her trip.
I didn't reply.
I didn't even finish reading it. I forwarded it to my lawyer, filed it under not my problem, and went back to my day because here's the truth.
She wasn't abandoned.
She abandoned me. She rejected me when I was standing there in a tux 5 minutes from walking down the aisle. She wanted me gone so she could play house with a con man. And when that blew up in her face, she tried to crawl back like nothing happened.
No thanks.
She lost me, her family's trust, her dignity, and the life she thought she was guaranteed. I lost some money and a woman who wasn't worth it. Looking at it like that, I came out ahead. People still ask me sometimes, do you ever think about what would have happened if she hadn't sent that text? My answer's always the same. Yeah, I'd probably be miserable right now. Instead, I walked away clean with a story people still can't believe is real. She thought she was writing my ending. Turns out she only wrote hers. And honestly, that's the best closure I'll ever